Welcome back to my channel, Simplified English 101. If you are new to this channel, please remember, like this video, leave a comment. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel and ring that good old notification bell so that you can be informed when a new video is posted. In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at a grammar topic. We're going to be focusing on understanding the difference in using who versus whom. Let's begin. One of the first things we need to understand is to know that they are considered as relative pronouns. A relative pronoun is a pronoun that begins a relative clause within a larger sentence. It is called a relative pronoun because it relates the relative, which is a subordinate clause, to the noun that it modifies. Some of the most commonly used relative pronouns are who, whom, whose, which, and that. An easier way to remember relative pronoun is to remember that it links an independent to a subordinate clause. An example of this could be, the man who sold ice cream has died. The pronoun who is a relative pronoun that links the independent clause, the man has died, to the dependent clause, who sold ice cream. The question now is, do you really understand the independent and dependent clause? Let's briefly look at that. An independent clause is a clause or group of words that forms a complete sentence. It makes sense and it can stand on its own. An independent clause always have a clear subject and a verb. A dependent clause, however, is a subordinating clause or a group of words that does not make complete sense and cannot stand on its own. Thus, it needs another word or phrase to complete it. A dependent clause usually has either a subject or a verb missing. This should tell us that a clause is just a collection of words or phrases with a subject and a verb, or a subject or a phrase. An example of an independent clause is I love cycling. The clear subject is I. The verb is love, followed by cycling, which tells us more about what the subject loves. A dependent clause, however, can sometimes appear as a sentence or even sound like a sentence. An example of this would be beginning a sentence with the subordinating conjunction because. For example, let's say someone asks, why do you like cycling? One might respond, because it keeps me fit. Note that this response is not a correct form of a formal speech or response as an English speaker. It would more be a colloquial or informal response. Also, it begins with the subordinating conjunction because, which makes it clear that the thought is incomplete. Please note that when the subordinating conjunction because is removed, the remaining clause becomes an independent clause and can stand on its own. It is therefore important that you know the difference between the subordinating conjunctions, or you know what they are, especially the ones that when used can create an impersonated or a false sentence. Some examples of these are such as for, since, therefore, hence, consequently, though, although, due to, provided that, because, unless, one, while, when, whenever, where, wherever, before, after, and the list goes on. Let us now move on into looking at some differences between who and whom. Now, this table shows us what relative pronouns are used as a subject or object and examples of the possessive. The information says that we use who, whom, whose, and that to always refer to people. So this is something you want to remember. We use whose, that, and which to refer to things. So it's clear that that can be used to make reference to people and things. Now, the focus for today's lesson is how to use who versus who. Now that you have developed a foundation for understanding who and whom, let us now look how to use each. Who is used to refer to the subject of the sentence. Who, the subjective pronoun, is the doer of an action and acts as the subject of the sentence. It means that who is always used when the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action. This means when the person, thing, or animal is doing the action, we use the subjective form of the pronoun who. Who can also be used when we are providing more information about the subject or when we are asking about the subject. Always remember that who is a subjective pronoun and make reference to the subject of the sentence. If we can turn our sentence into a question and it can be replaced by the pronouns he, she, or they, then we use the word who. Let's examine this sentence. It reads, the girl who lives next door is playing the music. One of the first things that you can identify or look at is the different parts of the sentence or functions of each part. The independent clause in this sentence is, the girl is playing the music. It has a clear subject, which is the girl, and it is a complete thought. The subordinating clause is, who lives next door. Notice that the thought is incomplete. Notice also that the relative pronoun who links the subordinating clause to the independent clause. By doing so, we're able to understand who the sentence is about, who the doer of the action is, and also the purpose of the relative pronoun who. The subject of the sentence is the girl, and the predicate is a part of the sentence that tells us more about the subject or what the subject is doing. What we do know is that this girl lives next door and she is playing the music. If we were to turn this into a question, it would read, who lives next door that is playing the music? Remember the information in black that says if you can replace the word he, she, or they, then we use who. The answer for this question would be, she is the one that lives next door that is playing the music. Let us look at some examples of how to use who. Sentence number 1 reads, I have a cousin who works in Mexico. So who is making reference to the cousin who is the subject of the sentence. If we were to turn this statement into a question, it would ask, who works in Mexico? The answer would be, she works in Mexico. Therefore, who is making reference to the cousin who is the subject of the sentence. Sentence number 2 reads, there is someone who is asking for you. Who relates to someone in this sentence? Someone is a mystery person and is also the doer of the action. And he or she is someone that is doing the asking. In this particular example, someone is the subject of the sentence because someone is the one that is doing the action of asking. If we were to turn this into a question, it would read, who is asking for you? Our answer would be she or he. So again, who makes reference to someone since someone is the subject of the sentence. Therefore, who is used correctly. Our third example says, the girl who threw the ball is coming. In this particular example, who relates to the girl who is the subject of the sentence. Since she is a subject and the doer of the action, then who is used correctly. Another way to look at it or to identify who is used correctly is to turn our statement into a question. It would read, who is coming? Our answer would be, she is coming. Who is she? The girl who threw the ball. Let us move on to understanding how to use whom. Whom is used to make reference to the object of the verb in a sentence. Unlike who, which makes reference to the subject, the doer of the action, whom is used to make reference to the object of the verb in a sentence. Whom, the objective pronoun, is the receiver of the action and acts as the object in the sentence. What is this saying? It is saying that whom is always used when the object in the sentence is receiving the action being done by the subject. It is also used in providing extra information about the object in the sentence or when we are asking about the object. If it can be replaced with him, her, or them, then we use whom. Let's look at this example. It reads, that's the teacher whom we spoke to about the exam. In this example, we first need to identify the subject of the sentence in order to identify the object. The subject of the sentence is we. It is we who spoke to the teacher. Now that we know that, we need to identify who is receiving the speaking to about the exam. It is the teacher whom we spoke to about the exam. And so the teacher in this sentence becomes the object of the action being done by us. And so whom is used in an objective way. Another way to find out if we've used whom correctly is to ask ourselves the question, whom did we speak to about the exam? If our answer is him, her, or them, then we've used whom correctly. Our answer for this question would be the teacher or her. As such, whom is used correctly. Let us look at some examples of how to use whom. Sentence 1 read, Mary wanted to know whom they should ask about the process. The verbs are wanted and know, and this is connected to Mary, and ask is connected to they. In this example, the independent clause is Mary wanted to know. This leaves whom they should ask about the process, which is the subordinating clause. When we examine the sentence, we can see that Mary is the subject of the sentence and that she wanted to ask a question. What we need to find out now is who is receiving the questions being asked about the process. It is clear that whom is connected to they. It is a group of persons, they, the unknown, that were asked the question by Mary about the process. Another way to identify if we've done this correctly is to ask ourselves the question, who did Mary ask about the process? Our answer would be them. Sentence 2 read, my cousin, whom I have known for over 20 years, is getting married. The two verbs are have known, which is connected to I, and is getting married, which is connected to my cousin. Though the sentence is about my cousin, it is the cousin that is also receiving the action of getting married. So the object is connected to my cousin, so we use the pronoun whom. Again, whom is connected to the cousin, who is the receiver of the action. Our final example says, whom did you tell about us? Since this is already a question, it is easy for us to turn it into a statement to get our answer. If we can replace the word with he or she or they, then we use who, and if we can replace the word with him or her or them, then we use whom. The sentence would now say, we told him or her about us. So whom is connected to the unknown that was told about us. Now let's do a quick recap. How and when to use who and who. Remember, when who functions as the subject, we use who. When whom functions as the object, we use whom. So if the question can be answered with a subject pronoun, he, she, it, or they, we use who. Or if it can be answered with an objective pronoun, him, her, or them, we use whom. Finally, when introducing a dependent clause, within that clause alone, not the entire sentence, just that clause, that relative clause. If the pronoun is a subject, then we use who. However, if the pronoun is an object, then we use whom. So these are 3 ways that you can remember how to use who or whom. Now this has taken us to the end of our lesson for today. Do not forget to like this video. Leave a comment. Let me know if you would want more practice on this. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Remember that this is the way for my channel to grow. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can be informed when I post new videos like this. Until then, bye.